Okay, let's unpack this. Distance. It's a funny thing, isn't it? You look at Dhaka and Madaripur on a map. Maybe 89 kilometers straight line. Or, historically, the road might be 127 kilometer.
Right, but that doesn't tell the whole story. Not even close.
Not anymore, yeah. That sense of distance, especially travel time, has just been, well, completely redefined dramatically.
By the Padma Bridge, you mean?
Exactly. So today we're doing a deep dive into the Madaripur district of Bangladesh. We want to explore how a place like this is shaped by, both its really deep history and these sudden modern shifts.
That sounds great. And we've pulled together quite a bit of material for this one, looking through articles, Banglapedia, Wikipedia, research notes, even some local source transcripts.
Yeah, a whole step.
Trying to get a clear picture of this specific district.
And our mission, as always, is to sift through all that, pull out what's most interesting, what's important, and hopefully give you a real sense of Madaripur without the information overload. So let's get into it.
Okay, basics first. Location. Madaripur district. It's right there in the Dhaka division of Bangladesh.
Sort of central Bangladesh, yeah.
Pretty much. And if you want the coordinates, our sources put it roughly between 23 degrees and 23 degrees 30 minutes north latitude.
Okay.
And longitude-wise, about 89 degrees 56 minutes to 90 degrees 21 minutes east.
Right. And size-wise, I noticed a couple of different figures.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. One common figure is around 149.59 square kilometers. But another source mentions something slightly larger, about 1,144.96 square kilometers.
Could be river boundaries changing, maybe, how they measure it.
Possibly. It's a delta region, after all. It's bordered by, let's see, Faridpur and Munshiganj to the north.
Oh, okay.
Barizal and Gopalganj down south.
Right.
Sharaipur is on the east. And then Faridpur and Gopalganj again sort of wrap around the west.
Got it. And rivers must be huge there.
Oh, absolutely central. You've got major ones like the Padma, the Ariel Khan, Kumar, Gagor flowing through or marking boundaries. Lots of others too. Torki, Palordi, Palang.
And there was a specific canal mentioned.
Yes, the Madaripur Beal Route Canal. Beal meaning like a large wetland or lake. So this canal is clearly an important waterway, linking things up.
Okay. So, geography set. Let's talk history, because this place goes way back.
It really does. The sources point to parts of Madaripur being, well, pretty significant centers even before Islamic rule. Places like Idpur over in the east.
Right.
That was apparently a developed area within the ancient Chandradwip kingdom, which was a big deal in the delta.
And Kotalapar too, right? In the west.
Exactly. Otalapara is fascinating, identified as a major hub of ancient Bengal civilization. Some sources even suggest it might have been part of the Gangaridhai Empire.
Wow, back around 327 BC, Alexander the Great era.
Potentially. It was definitely a key trade center by the 4th century AD. You had various dynasties ruling over this region for centuries.
So thousands of years of history layered there, which makes the name origin story even more interesting.
Yeah.
How did it become Madaripur?
Ah, yes. This is really cool. According to the sources, it's named after a Sufi saint from the 15th century. Hazrat Badiuddin Ahmed Zinda Shah Madar.
Shah Madar.
Right. A very revered figure. He apparently traveled all the way from Syria.
From Syria, wow.
Yeah, to spread his teachings. And there are still places linked to him, like the Dargah Sharif, his shrine. The area itself was called Madaran, or the Madaran region, way back in the 17th century.
And that eventually became Madaripur.
Seems like it. Makes sense.
Okay, so that's the name. What about its administrative journey? It wasn't always a district?
No, it evolved. Started out as a subdivision back in 1854, initially under Bakarganj district.
Okay.
Then it was moved under Faridpur. It took until 1984 for it to be officially established as a full district.
So quite recently in the grand scheme of things.
Relatively, yeah. Though there was an earlier split in 1909 when Gopalganj and Kotalapara were carved out to form the Gopalganj subdivision.
Right, okay. But what really jumped out at me from the historical sources was this strong theme of resistance, especially during British rule.
Oh, absolutely. Madaripur seems to have been a real hotbed for movements.
Like the Faraidzi movement.
Exactly. Hugely significant. Led by Haji Shariatullah, who was actually born in Shibchar, right there in Madaripur.
Oh, interesting.
And his son, Dudumia, carried it on. They were pushing for religious reform, against superstitions, that sort of thing.
But also against the landlords, right? And the indigo planters.
Critically, yes. They took a very strong stand against that exploitation, organizing people, mobilizing them to resist the oppressive systems.
That's powerful stuff. And did that spirit continue?
It definitely seems so. It flowed into more direct anti-British revolutionary activities later on, Purnatandra Das, for example.
Right. He founded the Madaripur Samiti.
Yeah, a secret society, basically, founded in 1910, dedicated to fighting the British.
And some members paid a heavy price.
Tragically, yes. The sources mention Chittapriya Roy Chowdhury, Narendranath Dasgupta, and Manoranjan Sengupta, young revolutionaries.
They died in the Bulishwar battle in 1915.
Chittapriya died in the battle itself. Narendranath and Manoranjan were captured and later executed. Real sacrifices.
And there was that connection to Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, too.
Yeah, a fascinating detail. One source mentions that Sheikh Mujib actually attended meetings held by Purna Das in Madaripur back in 1936.
Wow. So you wonder if that early exposure to revolutionary ideas there had some influence.
You do wonder. It plants a seed, perhaps.
Okay, fast forward then. 1971, the Liberation War. How did Madaripur fare?
Like the rest of the country, it faced immense hardship, but also showed incredible bravery. The sources mention specific tragedies, like the killing of Abdur Rashid Khan and his whole family in April '71 by the Pakistan Army. Just awful.
Terrible. Were there major battles?
Yes, there was a key engagement near the Samadar Bridge in early December '71. Freedom fighters fought the Pakistani Army there.
And they had some success.
Apparently so. One source highlights a group called the Khalil Bahini, capturing about 40 enemy soldiers, including officers, around December 8th to 10th.
And then liberation itself. There was something potentially unique mentioned.
Yes, this is quite striking. One source claims Madaripur district was liberated on December 10th, 1971.
Okay, 6 days before the general surrender.
Exactly. And this source suggests it might be the only place where Pakistani forces actually surrendered directly to the Bengali freedom fighters, the Mukti Bahini.
Rather than waiting for the Joint Command surrender on the 16th.
Right. If true, that's a really powerful testament to the local resistance effort. Needs more verification, maybe, but it's in the source material.
It really underscores that local agency. The sources also mention the loss of life, sadly.
Yes. The youngest martyr noted was just 14, Sarwar Hossain Bachu, killed near a bunker just before liberation.
Heartbreaking. And mass graves.
Unfortunately, yes. 3 specific locations are mentioned: Kaligachia, Bahadurpur, and Mithapur, places where victims of the war are buried. A grim reminder.
Okay, moving from that difficult history to the present day, let's look at the people and the administration now. Population.
Right. The 2011 census figures we found put the population at 12,212,198. So over 1.2 million people back then.
And I think one source mentioned a slightly unusual gender split.
Yeah, apparently slightly more females than males recorded in that census.
Interesting.
And it's quite densely populated, around 1,100 people per square kilometer.
Makes sense for Bangladesh.
Yeah.
And the religious makeup.
Predominantly Muslim, over 87%, but a very significant Hindu minority too, over 12%, plus small numbers of Buddhists, Christians, and others.
And how is it all organized administratively?
It's divided into 5 upazilas. Think of them as sub-districts.
Right.
Those are Madaripur Sadar, Shibchar, Kalkini, Rojwar, and Dashar. And within those, you have 4 municipalities, then 59 unions, 479 musas, and 62 villages. So structured down to the local level.
Okay. Now, how do people make a living there? What drives the economy?
Well, agriculture is absolutely key. One source gave a figure of 61.33% of total income coming directly from agriculture. That's huge.
Wow, nearly 2/3. What else?
Commerce, so trading and business, service sector jobs. Transport is another one.
Right.
And interestingly, one source specifically mentioned a contribution to the local economy from European expatriates.
Oh. Remittances, presumably.
Presumably, yeah. Sending money back home.
And what are they growing? Main crops?
Rice, of course. Jute is still important. Mustard, sugarcane, those are the main ones listed.
And exports. Anything specific the district is known for sending out?
Yes. Jute and jute products that make sense given the history.
Oh.
And also date molasses.
Kitchigur.
The good stuff. Okay. What about industry? Is it heavily industrialized?
Not heavily, no. But there are some significant units mentioned. The Madaripur spinning mills stands out.
Right. That sounded quite large.
Yeah, established 86, big site. Apparently employed 2,000 people at one point, producing a lot of thread, worth quite a bit annually.
Any other industries noted? There's mention of the Alhaj Aminuddin jute mills and another one, A.R. Hullidar jute mills, though one source noted that might be abandoned now.
Okay.
And important infrastructure, too, like cold storage capacity for agricultural goods, about 6,000 metric tons mentioned.
Right. Important for the farmers. Now let's shift to culture. It sounded really rich, especially the folk traditions.
Oh, definitely. The sources list a whole array of folk music forms. Things like Gazir Gan, Kirtan, Panchali, Dwagan, ball songs, Jerigan.
Wow, quite a list.
Yeah, plus other folk traditions like proverbs, riddles, rhymes they call chora. And a really specific detail was about the Matua community in Rajwar.
What about them?
They perform a unique Matula song during the Durga Puja festival. Sounds fascinating.
And local festivals. Melas.
Yes, several mentioned. Trisnata Mela, Sankranti Mela, Roth Mela, the Chariot Festival, and something called Ganesh Pagalar Kumbha Mela. Lots of local gatherings and celebrations.
Sounds vibrant. Is there a local media scene keeping people informed?
Seems so. Sources mention various local newspapers, daily, weekly, monthly. Names like Daily Subarnagram, Weekly Supervet, Monthly Jagatchatona pop up.
Okay.
And literary periodicals, too, like Bonin and Cawthon, so active journalism and some literary activity as well.
Good to hear. Okay, let's circle back to getting around because that Padma Bridge connection feels so central now.
It really does. As we said, the straight distance from Dhaka might be 89 kilometers, or the old road maybe 127 kilometers.
But the time!
But the time, that's the game changer. Crossing the Padma used to mean potentially hours waiting for a ferry. Huge bottleneck.
Right.
Now with the bridge, sources say the road trip from Dhaka is down to about 2 hours.
That's incredible. Just completely changes the dynamic with the capital.
Monumental shift. The main highway connecting it is the N8.
So if you were visiting, maybe taking advantage of that easier travel, what are some of the key points of interest mentioned?
There's a good mix listed. You've obviously got the Sham Dargah Sharif, the shrine of the saint the district is named after.
A must-see, you'd think.
Definitely. Then historical sites like the Aliyapur Nilkuthi.
Nilkuthi, those are the indigo factories, right? Reminders of that tough colonial period.
Exactly. There's also mention of Senapati Dighi, a historical tank or lake, and Charmaguria is interesting.
Why is that?
It's noted as both an ancient port area and a place known today for its monkeys, like a local sanctuary.
Huh, okay. Ancient port and monkeys. Quite a combo.
Right. There are religious sites too, like Raja Ram Mandir, Pranab Math, and connecting back to the Faraidsi movement, the tomb of Haji Shariatullah.
Ah, right. Important historical figure.
And Shokuni Dighi, or Shokuni Lake in Madaripur town, is also listed as a place people visit.
Okay, lots to potentially see. What about education? What's the picture there?
Well, literacy rates. The 2011 census figure was 48.0%, though one source, the Bengali Wikipedia, gave a higher figure, closer to 60%.
Okay, some variation.
And a gender gap.
Yes, typically higher literacy from males mentioned.
And schools and colleges.
Seems like a well-established infrastructure. Lots of primary schools, high schools, colleges, madrasas, any specialized institutions.
Yeah, mentions of a textile institute, a government technical college, even a veterinary college. And what's striking is how old some of the institutions are.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Donovan Government Girls High School, founded in 1914. Mithapur LN High School, 1915. Charmaguria Merchants High School, 1931. United Islamia Government High School goes back to 1950, though formed from earlier schools, too. Shows a long history of education there.
Definitely adds another layer. Okay, finally, notable people. The sources seem to list quite a few impressive figures from Madaripur.
It's really diverse and impressive list, yeah, spanning centuries.
Where do we start? Obviously, Shah Madar himself, the namesake.
Gotta start there. Then the key historical leaders, we talked about Haji Shariatullah and Dudumia of the Faraidsi movement.
Right, and the revolutionaries.
Purnachandra Das, definitely. And his comrades who gave their lives, Chittapriya, Roy Chaudhuri, Narendra Nath Dasgupta, Manoranjan Sengupta, important figures in the independence struggle.
And then more modern figures. Any globally known names?
Absolutely. Dr. Fazlur Rahman Khan, world-famous architect and structural engineer. A giant in skyscraper design came from Madaripur.
Wow, okay. That's huge.
Huge. In arts, the sources mention the well-known poet and novelist Sunil Gangopadhyay having roots there.
Okay.
Then some unique sports achievements highlighted Siddhaka Raman, known for swimming records and also golf wins, and Mabia Akhtar, a weightlifter who won gold medals at the South Asian Games.
Interesting mix.
And a really pioneering figure, Dr. Zora Begum Kazi, noted as the first female physician from the entire subcontinent, also from Madaripur.
That's incredible. First female doctor in the whole subcontinent.
Incredible achievement. And the list in the sources goes on: ancient kings, poets, politicians, scientists, artists, journalists. even a former Chief Justice. It really speaks volumes about the talent pool from this district over time.
Wow, it really is remarkable when you pull it all together. So many layers: ancient history, Sufi saints, fierce resistance movements, the trauma and heroism of 71, and then producing these globally recognized figures alongside a vibrant local culture.
Yeah, it paints a picture of a place with incredibly deep roots, a history of struggle and resilience, but also one that's now grappling with very sudden, very modern changes.
Like that bridge connection we keep coming back to.
Exactly. It highlights this complex identity. You have the weight of all that history, the ancient kingdoms, the Sufi traditions, the revolutionary spirit, the war, all shaping the place. And now, this massive piece of modern engineering fundamentally alters its connection to the outside world.
Which leaves us with a pretty big question, I think.
Yeah.
What does it really mean for a place like Madaripur? For its identity, its culture, its future? When that fundamental link, the time and effort it takes to connect to the capital, to the wider world, is just transformed overnight by something like the Padma Bridge.
Yeah.
How do those deep, centuries-old roots adapt and interact with the rush of opportunities and maybe challenges that come with that sudden proximity?
That's the really fascinating thing to consider, isn't it? How does that deep history navigate such rapid change?